just announced that starting in September, AI education will be mandatory for students as young as 6 years old. And this isn't just a coding class. It is a national strategy to prepare students for a future dominated by AI. Meanwhile, in the United States, you have the Secretary of Education saying this.
I heard that there is a school system that's going to start making sure that first
I
graders,
can't, Steve, I'm live. It's on
A1
Instagram.
teaching every year, starting that far down in the grades. Okay, let's see A1 and how can that be helpful?
Now, to be fair to the US, AI in classrooms is even happening.
So AI in classrooms, it's happening. And you know what? I don't know. Who was I talking? Was I talking to you about that, Steve, today? About AI in classrooms, or I was talking to somebody earlier, or I was listening to it, but to do with AI and the classrooms and everything being taught by computers. And I think we were on the way to Value Village. We mentioned something about AI or computers and everything going to that direction. And I found it and now just Dylan, who I follow, he's on TikTok and stuff and Instagram, and he's News Daddy. That's who he is, News Daddy. Anyways, he just brought up about AI coming into Chinese schools. So having AI in schools, or maybe it might have been this morning. I don't know. Anyways, I know we were talking about it. I think it was Eddie and I were talking about it this morning, going to work, where with schools, which is a lot more computers, because they're talking about what a lot of Gen Z kids don't know or will never experience. Like cursive writing is one of them. Rotary telephones, the typewriter, like an actual typewriter. Like the original typewriter, not an electric typewriter. And what are some of the else? Oh, having to wait to use the phone and call somebody long distance after 6 o'clock. Things that we take for granted now. Like, people can just pick up a phone and call anybody anytime, right? Or you go on Facebook and you just call them, and you're not charged for that, right? Before, you used to be charged like $5 a minute. And so everything was timed, and you could call after 6 and it was cheaper. So a lot of kids won't know that or even understand that. It's where things have become so routinely or so automated within our lives. Like, it was automatic when we drove up to a gas station. There was no self-serve. It came out, oh, real women don't pump gas, and real men don't eat quiche, or something like that. Was a saying in the 70s, where, and these guys would come out automatically. As soon as you pull up, they'd come up and they would, how much gas do you need? And they'd fill up your gas. These are things that are just not, you don't usually see it unless you go to a co-op or it says full like how many full service. They're usually all self-serve now, for gas stations, right? So these these little things and the changes that are coming through, and that's, with Pluto in Aquarius, that's very much what we're going to start seeing, where, like, I even asked Mateus the other day if they do any coding and learning how to do coding. Some co-op gas stations, and that's about the only ones that I know of, unless you go into some little town and they'll come out and fill up your gas. And I know when I go to Manville, they'll come out and fill my gas at a little gas station there. And it's 2 guys that are usually in there doing it. So, I have to put lipstick on, right? But yeah, co-op will. And the thing is that I particularly don't want anybody pumping gas. I want to do my own. It's a control thing. But this is where you're going to find where maybe automation is going to come so much that you just pull up and it just, because cars are going to be all electric or whatever they're going to be, robots are going to come out and then just do it, or just hook up to your car automatically. You just drive up and it just hooks up however it does, and then just takes all your money, right? So there's so many things that we're going to see over the next year, 2 years, changing radically. Now, the West, Canada and the United States are usually really, we're kind of, well, States is further behind sometimes when it comes to computers, which is kind of weird, depending on the area. Than even Canada. Like in the States, you can still write a check in some places. Balancing your checkbook, right, is a huge, is still, how many kids know how to balance a checkbook or have a checkbook? They don't even know what a checkbook is. Everything is online, right? So, and here in Canada, we had Interact before the States. I mean, I remember when I worked at Starbucks, and this is way back in the 90s, that we had a phone call with Schultz, with Howard Schultz, wanting to know what were the benefits of Interact, because it costs so much money for the company to put an Interact in their stores. So they did test stores. We weren't back east yet. We were mainly in BC. So they weren't widespread as they are now, that you see Starbucks everywhere. And they did a little test in Vancouver area, and they were shocked that how many people, when they were given the choice between cash and a debit, they would use their debit, even for a $2 coffee. How many of you just go in? How many of you, like, yeah, well, I know some of you say, well, I always carry cash. Good on you. I'm looking at the average that will go into 7-Eleven, pick up a chocolate bar, pick up a slushie, and they just tap and go. Right? That's why you have so many self-serves they don't take cash, because it's just tap and go. You just tap it. I love having my tap on my phone, because I don't have to carry my purse or anything else. I can just pull it up on my phone. Unless I'm making a larger purchase or something like that, then I, bring in my debit card and everything. But with time, this is how things are changing. It's even going to be becoming more automated. I was watching, there's a YouTuber that I think it's Yes Theory, and they were in Honduras, and there's an area of Honduras which is very private and exclusive, but they're doing such advancements with different things with science when it comes to the brain, and doing they're doing things on spinal work. But the other part another portion that they were working on or doing was putting chips. Now we've heard of that before, people getting chips in their hands, and these people are just like so excited, like even getting it right here between your thumb and your pointer, right? And it's only about the size of a rice, a little rice seed. So these, I mean, I'm thinking of my grandson. These are the things that, my kids might think, oh my God, that's, my kids might think that's crazy. Other kids might not. But this is where, this technology is going, and you can see it, with that Pluto Aquarius. More of this is going to come in. And especially when it comes to schools and kids learning robotics, kids learning about AI and utilizing AI. In a lot of universities and colleges now, they tell you can't use Chat GPT, right? And you can sort of tell when somebody's using chat, and when they're doing their posts and stuff like that. But chat, if they're writing up a paper and stuff like that, they're not allowed to use it. I'm not sure how they can tell, but I don't know. Anyways, they're not allowed to use it. So the thing is that we're going to find more technology and more kids starting to use either chat or a version of AI or deep state or whatever it's called, DeepSeek, utilizing these types of AI, these types of computer that are going to be out there. And that's where I feel like it's important, because of the technology and the way the world's changing, that our children, grandchildren need to learn this. I think it's very important for them to learn and to be able to utilize it and use it properly, so they have an understanding on how to use it. I think when
grandson will be able to use that good.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Mac computers were the first computers that went into school, and then Microsoft took over, and then all the schools had to convert over to Microsoft. But the Mac computers, when they first came in, you could get them in different colors and stuff, were the very first computers that came in. And they were the ones that Apple were the ones that were really starting to make a push into the schools and stuff. But then Gates came in, and he basically donated to every school computers. I mean, what a way to take over, right? And it basically probably didn't cost him anything, because everything would have been a write-off, because it's all donations, and he donated to libraries, to schools, and everything all throughout North America. So every school today has a PC in it instead of a Mac. So computer. I mean, he monopolized it, went to court and everything else. Now we know it changed him to become a philanthropist. So got off on a wrong track there. But this is where we're starting to see where changes are happening. Change is there. And I feel like it's one of those pieces that of acceptance. And I know for a lot of people, it's difficult. My dad used a checkbook and went through his checkbook basically at the end of the week, he would look at it, and at the end of the month, he'd balance it all off and make sure it balanced. If it was out a penny, I remember it was out a penny and he couldn't figure it out, he added it and added it. He even got the adding machine out, which was something, because my dad did everything in his head. And he couldn't find out what that penny was. And he went back to each month, and each month was out a pen. He went and he found out that the credit union, which he banked with, they took out a penny or something for some kind of charge. And he wanted them to refund him every single penny. Because he said, you're taking a penny from me. How many other people are you taking a penny from? And that adds up. And I think I heard another story of another little old lady in New York who did the same thing and went back to her bank. And it was in top news or whatever at the time. But my dad was like, yeah, he'd write down to the penny that it had to balance, which was a great thing. He never passed that on to me anyways. Totally didn't pass that gene on to me. That just bypassed me. It just went like, oh no, she doesn't need that. I'm like saying, no, yes, I do. It just left. It left the building. But that's I feel like the state of how we're moving and going. The other thing that I always found peculiar and very interesting, like even today, that the international oh my God, my brain's not working today. The International Space Station, it's international. They get people going to Cosmo Beach, I think it's called, and down to Cape Canaveral. And they get Russians there, they get Japanese there that come in, and they go up to space. And they take off from there. It doesn't matter what political or geopolitical bullshit that's on the scene. When it comes to the space and innovation to space, they're sharing things. I mean, Russia and the United States are up there now, doing their thing, whatever experiments and stuff, and everything is basically shared. So I find that very interesting as well. And, when it comes to the different ones, like even, what is it, SpaceX and Blue Ring or Blue whatever he's called, they basically, a lot of that, even though that they're privatized and everything else, they're still all working together, because I mean, even with SpaceX, I mean, it's mapping I mean, the amount of satellites that are up there right now that are mapping our universe, that are mapping everything that's going on down here on Earth. Kind of scary. But the way that we're going, especially with Pluto and Uranus, we're going to be seeing and we're going to be hearing more about this. And I think people just need to be prepared, or need to just open their mind to understand it, a little bit more, and not be afraid of it, and be able to utilize it in some way. Understanding how your computer works is important, right? It's not just turning it off and on, knowing how to sort of clean it, to make sure that, if you got too much data on there or what have you. It tells you I know much. Hardware, or it's too much software on there, and the software is taking up too much space. How you can, delete it or reprogram it or whatever. Just understanding your basics of your computer is so important. So I think. So, anyways, as I'm rambling off here, yeah, not much going on in my day today. I will be starting to do more of filming and stuff tomorrow and sending out people's new moon readings, which will be interesting. And then I'm going to be sending out for the journaling club. People will start getting notifications out next week for the journaling club, which will be interesting. So today is another day of just sort of prep work, marketing, looking at that Pluto and Sun square. I mean, that's really one I think is, just sort of stay in your lane. It is, really a day just to watch how things are progressing, and people are going to be just angry about things again. People are just angry. As I said earlier today, how many accidents were on the road when I was coming out. It's just crazy. And it's just like, okay, why is there so many freaking accidents? And it was just people not watching, or, you don't want to cast a finger on any particular group of people, but sometimes there's some particular groups of people that don't they don't have their proper license, right? And they're given a lot of money and they get these vehicles and they just don't know how to drive them properly. We saw people passing on, on the outside of the lane, and you're just like, okay, guy, why are you just because it was going slow? So that causes an accident in itself, and then try and cut off a big semi, right? And this, you can see the semi go, because if he hit that guy, the guy would have been crunch. But it's crazy. It's crazy. When you see things that we see on the road are just crazy shit. But yeah. So what else is happening? Let's see. Let's look at some of the top news thingies. Oh, Pierre came out with some news on retirement. He said that he's not going to change the age. It's going to be stated at 65. Also, he mentioned about seniors being able to earn $35,000 tax-free. That is awesome. And it won't be deducted from your retirement, which is cool, because I noticed for me, which tax-free, if you look at it, that's about $50,000, because usually when you're taxed, an average earning of somebody who's earning $50,000 or $60,000 is between 35 and 40 that you take home. So I think that's really cool, and just giving a lot more incentive to seniors. And I think for when it comes to old age pension, old age security, and that, I think they should be getting double than what they're getting at this time. And I don't think a new immigrant who hasn't contributed anything to Canada should be getting like $3,000 to $4,000 a month each. Like, that just blows my mind, when somebody like myself, who really, I do need to work, trying to find a job, which I kind of sort of am, has difficulty trying to find a job. So anyways, what does he have here? So Pierre Poilievre goes nuclear on a Liberal. So yeah, he was being heckled at his last gathering, and some old guy, I'm going to call everybody old now, was heckling him, and they wanted to know what he was talking about with the anti-Semite riots and stuff like that. And he wanted to know dates and everything else, because he said he could remember when he, in the 30s. And I'm like, this guy is probably just older than me. Like, he is not, because if he was around seeing riots in the 30s for anti-Semites, he'd be like 100, Well, close to it, or maybe over it, because if he could remember seeing it, he must be over the age of 16 at that time. So, anyways, just really weird with the questioning, but Pierre actually answered it, was very calm, very cool, very collective in answering that, and stated some times and stuff when he did, when they were last fall, and different things with Jewish schools, windows being broken, bullets going through, and things like that. And he mentioned different times in that, and the guy goes, "Well, why isn't it in the news?" And he goes, "Well, he has no control over that. He has no control over what goes in the news and what the news follows, but the facts are there. The facts are there." So he handled that very well. I thought that was very cool. So the other things that are coming out that are kind of crazy, US Iran talks falling apart, which definitely it will. And the Islamic start to panic. We have some weird things about the Pope, more things about why Pope Francis' final request breaks with centuries of the papal. I don't know what that is, but Pope's funeral to be held on Saturday. So he has a funeral this Saturday. We have migrants protesting. And what is it? Oh, and more on Conor McGregor, because he talked to Tucker Carlson. So it's making its way around a lot of the podcasters. If you don't know who Conor McGregor is, he's an Irishman. He's actually, I think he was a ring fighter and MMA fighter. Quite a brute. Quite, he came from the street stock, we'll call him. So he came from street stock. But he is talking about the immigration and everything that's happening, and the invasion that's happening in Ireland, and the things that are going on in Ireland. So he brings that up and talks about it. Let's see. I think that's Kevin O'Leary on the reality of the Trump tariffs. So he does a big thing on the podcast with Megyn Kelly. And yeah, a lot of them are just repeating themselves. So there's a lot of the whole story about what's coming next is only getting more. So there's a lot of clickbait to get you to really watch the stuff about the Pope, and the end of times are happening as we know it. I shouldn't have done that because I have no water or tea with me when I said the end of times. But there's that's going on. And yeah. So basically it comes down staying in your own lane, doing your thing, staying spiritually good, shining your light, being the beautiful, optimistic, lovely people you all are. And yeah, that's where we're at. Still, the craziness is out there. It's going to be there I'm going to say it's going to be there forever. You have different people talking about, the aliens, and, what was it when I just saw? Oh, the black goo, something about black goo taking over, and all this black goo taking over. And it's basically the dark, as I see the black goo, or I see any blackness comes through, is when people aren't standing up and saying and talking and sharing. I think that's when things start to come in and start to be a little bit crazy. Let's see what else is going on. I think there's probably more if I dig, but I'm not digging right now because I got to get going to pick up my grandson. So, yeah. Wow. If any of you have any questions, concerns, or comments, definitely get a hold of me. Going to have a little convo, have a little chit chat. If you're wanting to book a reading, go and DM me and book a reading. And what else? The journey of journaling, the journaling journey, and creative writing and creating magic within your life. Join me on that. I'm quite excited about it. And yeah, that's about it. Pretty boring day, I would say. So take it all easy. May the Lord and Lady watch over and bless each and every one of you, and all you say and all you be and all you do. And we'll talk to you tomorrow. Tomorrow I'll probably have more to say. I'll be in a little bit like, oh, but I think some of this energy is just like, oh, it's getting me down. I'm just like, oh, it's heavy. So have a blessed one, everybody. Thanks for listening. Thanks for, as I'm jibber jabbering away and just waffling around in what I'm saying, and just sort of all over the map today. So yeah, have a blessed one. And we will talk to you guys really soon. Okay. Bye-bye, everybody.